In desperation, Nicholas and Wilhelm began a curious exchange of messages by telegraph.
July 28th, to the Kaiser. I beg you, in the name of our old friendship, to do what you can to stop your allies from going too far. Nicky.
To the Tsar. With regard to the hearty and tender friendship which binds both of us from long ago with firm ties, I'm exerting my utmost to arrive at a satisfactory understanding with you. Your very sincere and devoted friend and cousin, Willy.
While the two cousins professed their friendship, their generals were preparing for war. On July 30th, Nicholas's staff told him Russia had to mobilize its army.
Think of what an awful responsibility you are advising me to take. Think of the thousands and thousands of men who will be sent to their deaths.
Nicholas held out until 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Then he agreed to mobilize.
The hidden element in the war crisis of 1914 is the word honor. Honor is something you defend, sometimes irrationally, sometimes even when it isn't at issue. In fact, I would say in every case, it was in no great power's interest to go to war in 1914, and yet they all did it. One answer may be because their honor was at stake.
The Russian mobilization was just what the German General Staff wanted. Now Germany could mobilize under the pretense that it was only responding to a threat. France soon followed. News of the war hit the capitals of Europe like a thunderbolt, sending thousands of people surging into the streets. In Berlin, the artist Ludwig Meidner was among them.
And out of the depths of the earth rose dreadful fiends that settled in everyone's brains. And in their madness, they turned their scourge into a joyous festival.
The citizens of each nation were convinced they were fighting a just and defensive war. Conflicts that had wanted them were set aside. The great socialist movement, which was supposed to know no national borders, proved no match for the call to arms. The same was true of the suffragettes. Most decided they would support their men and worry about their rights later. But for the continent's monarchs, the celebration would be short-lived. For what their opponents at home had been unable to accomplish, the war would. In the next 4 years, the monarchies of Russia, Germany, and Austria-Hungary would all fall. But the most profound changes brought about by the First World War would be those affecting millions of ordinary people. People like Vera Brittain, who proclaimed the declaration of war to be one of the most thrilling days of her life, not knowing that nearly every close male friend she would soon be dead. Henri Designeau, a French attorney who fought and survived the deadliest battle of the war. Princess Evelyn Blücher, English by birth, German by marriage. She was forced to choose between her country and her husband. Mustafa Kemal, a Turkish colonel whose snap judgment to stand and fight cost Britain a disastrous defeat. Maria Botkareva, a Russian woman who not only fought in the front lines, but found herself at the center of mass revolt. Siegfried Sassoon, a member of the British landed gentry who went from hunting foxes in the countryside to Germans in no man's land. Richard Stumpf, a German seaman who started the war a loyal patriot and ended it a revolutionary. Carolyn Webb, a young British woman who was willing to die for her country, not in the front lines, but in a shell factory. Woodrow Wilson, United States President, who in the peace that followed became as much a casualty of the war as any soldier who fell on the battlefield. Katie Kollwitz, a German artist and mother who lost a son to World War I and a grandson to World War II. The Great War was a great tragedy, for it was not an end, but a beginning, ushering in history's most violent century. Its dark shadow has not disappeared, even in our own time.